How's it going, everybody? I'm doing this a little different. Instead of posting Facebook Live, I'm actually going to post this video at a later time. The reason being is because I'm surprising my wife. Yes, I love saying that word, wife. Uh, I'm home from my first week of academy. She thinks I'm coming home later in the day, like a lot later. She doesn't know this. By the time this video is posted, though, she would have been surprised. So with that being said, I wanted to go over a couple of things about drums. No, I'm switching it up from electronics. As you can see, I'm in my drum studio here. So I want to go over the different kind of drums and cymbals and stuff and what makes a drum set. So first of all, we'll start with the snare. So this is my main snare here. It's a Pearl Masters limited edition 8-inch by 14-inch snare. This is a Pearl Masters 6.5-inch by 14-inch snare. Now you're wondering, it's only 6.5 inches wide? No, it's 14 inches wide by 6.5 inches. And this one's 14-inch wide at 8.5 inches. But as drummers tell you, they normally start with the depth, then go with the width, right? So something to think about. So that being said, I'm going to put this wonderful stick of mine over here so I can have one to hit. So a snare drum has little wires on the bottom, right? The whole idea behind that is it makes a nice pop sound to it. A snare drum's been around since the Revolutionary time. It's pretty much the main drum. It's the drum that everybody uses as the marching forward into battle kind of drum. I'm going to sound it without the wires, and then I'm going to put the wires on to kind of give you an idea of what the wires do. So as you can see, it's just a very tight drum at this point. Doesn't sound very fun, right? So as I pop the wires on, see, makes a snare sound, right? Same with this one. See the difference in sound? A lot of drummers are going to have at least 2 or 3 snare drums. I'm going to move over to the 10-inch. I'm going to move over to what I like to refer to as the rack toms. You can call them tom-toms. That's kind of what they used to call them in the 60s. Not a fan of that anymore. Some people just call them toms. I like to call them rack toms because there's 2 different kind of toms. You have floor toms and rack toms. Rack toms hang with no legs on them. Floor toms have legs on them, hence why they call them floor toms. Rack toms are typically smaller, although you can get them all the way to an 18-inch. So this one would be a 10-inch, a 10-inch by 8 inches deep. Okay. This is a 12-inch by 10-inch deep. This is a 13-inch by 11-inch deep. So these are my 3 rack toms. I have one more on the way if it ever comes, which is 14 inches wide by 12 inches deep. So I will release the wires on both of my snares so you can get a true feel of the tom. When you record studio, you won't actually hear the wires, but right. So that kind of gives you that bassy without actually using the bass drum, right? Because bass drum only gives you really one sound unless you have multiple bass drums. So that gives you that do 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 do, which is really nice. The bass drum is next. It's the big boy. Not used as much. Well, used more these days, but the bass drum, just a nice little kick, right? A lot of drummers will actually intermingle the bass drums with the toms to give a feel of them having like 4 hands doing drum rolls around the kit. It's actually a neat trick. It's still a complex thing to do, but you got to remember drummers are moving their hands every which way, getting nice workouts. So anything to make their lives easier is better, right? It's kind of like a fat person doing exercises. Hello, I'm right here, right? So definitely really nice. So it's going to be the deepest of all the drums. So that's the drums portion. Now we move on to the cymbals. I'm a cymbal hitter. I have more cymbals than I could probably ever need, but you know, like everybody else, you still want more. One of the most important cymbals is the hi-hat cymbal. A lot of drummers use this. I don't use the hi-hat quite as much as most drummers. The hi-hat has a good hi-hat, has a nice chick to it. See, it's a nice solid chick. And if you notice here, the bottom is a heck of a lot thicker than the top, right? So the top versus the bottom. See how much thicker that is? And it's a thicker sound, right? The reason is the bottom is the one that carries all the weight. So you're hitting that with my foot, right? So it's got to be able to carry that weight, and it makes a good mix for when, right? So definitely really nice there. Now if you notice, backtracking a little bit, my drums have, some drums have it built in, some drums don't. I'm a pearl guy, so I'm going to go off of pearl. The higher end pearls will have these opti-mounts where you're not actually drilling another hole into the drum so you can mount your tom, and then putting weight on that shell allows the shell to ring more freely, which is nice, right? So something to think about. With whatever drums. I'm not saying, you know, like your Pearl Exports and Pearl Visions are bad drums, or any other drums for that matter. It's just, again, you know, your higher stuff, right? Now this particular hi-hat, like all my cymbals, are a custom, okay? From Zildjian. It's one of the best cymbals they make, one of the most common cymbals drummers use, professional drummers, you know, professional drummers that don't play in big bands, studio drummers, church drummers, almost everybody uses A customs. Another one they use is K customs. A customs are a bright cymbal, bright meaning a high pitch cymbal, where K customs are typically dark, or K series are typically dark cymbals, meaning they are lower pitch cymbal. And I also have A series cymbals as well. However, I just replaced my ride. Not that I needed to, but I wanted to go for a different sound. Not that I wanted to replace my ride, but I kind of wanted to. It was kind of half and half. A little mixed emotions on that one. It's still a wonderful ride, and I'm still going to use it. But I play more country songs, and I think I kind of want a softer ride that I can also use as a crash, which is interesting. Side note, I ended up getting a Peisty. I believe it's Peisty. I like to say pasty. You get either or. It's kind of like wash and wash, right? St. Louis, San Luis, right? So tomato, tomato. Anyways, but I got a ride cymbal that my parents got me from them. It's a 502 series. It's a nice cymbal and it sounds great. It just doesn't crash very well. And I like all my cymbals to match. So that's one of the reasons why I bought this ride. And we're going to get to the ride cymbal in a minute. So the hi-hat, definitely very important. When you're in a verse of a song, that's the kind of sound you want, right? In the background, so it's like, let's see. So, yeah, I don't have my snares up. Sorry. Kind of sounds like crap without, the beat does. Sorry. I was kind of horsing around. So the next kind of cymbal is crashes, right? So I'm going to put my snares up. I'll actually do a proper beat because I do want you to hear that. So syncopation. That's a cool little beat. Anyways, it's also how you hide a mistake. Anyways, this next we're going to move to crashes. I don't have any splashes. So splashes are smaller cymbals that give you a super quick in and out effect. Super quick. You'll hear them in songs that are like 6 to 10-inch cymbals, sometimes 12-inch cymbals. But a lot of people love those. I haven't gotten those yet. I do want them. I just haven't gotten there yet. So with that being said, I do have a lot of crashes. So they're a different kind of crashes, though. So we're going to start with regular crashes. And I kind of have them all over my set, so I'm going to go back and forth. So I have different sizes. So over here is an 18-inch right here. This is a 16-inch, and then this one's a 14-inch right here, right? So crashes are meant to crash just like this, right? So just like this. You know, it's accompanied with the bass drum, you know, that old thing. Right? So that's pretty cool. That's a bigger crash, great for the beginning of choruses. Then you get smaller crashes here. It's a little bit higher pitch crash, still a big crash, you know. And then, of course, your 14-inch. Now, if you notice, these are a little bit lower pitch. They're a little bit, they're more consistent with their sound, right? They're more even with their sound. Not too high pitch, not too low pitch, right? However, you get a different crash called a fast crash. I have a 17-inch here and a 16 and 14-inch fast crash, right? So a fast crash is higher pitched, it's a little bit thinner. So you hit it, it dissipates a little bit quicker, but it's a lot higher pitched. So see how much lower, how much higher that is compared to that little 14-inch regular crash, you know, just a crash. Here's a 16-inch fast crash versus its counterpart, standard crash. See how much of a difference? Right? And then, of course, a 14-inch. How much higher that is than the 14-inch standard crash there. These are more what I like to use with my snare drum. I would show you, but I'm holding the phone with my hand, so I kind of can't show you because I don't have a third arm. Boo, right? However, this here will, these two here these three will accompany a snare drum very well. For that nice high pitch, but you can also use the bigger ones with a bass drum, even the smaller one, but you know, you get more meat out of these than you do this guy, right? So, you know, see how much more meat you get out of this. And then of course, my last 14-inch crash is a medium crash. It's a thicker crash, right? It's more definition for when you're in a louder environment. Mediums are thicker, you know. See how much longer that rings out than its counterpart here? See? Right? So it's a lot thicker. It's really nice. So, you know, when you're playing in a loud environment, you don't have mics for your cymbals, the medium crashes are kind of what you want. Same with the rides. The medium rides are actually going to be thicker and they're not going to wash out as easily. And I'll show you what that means. My last crash is a sound effect crash. I just got this guy too. So you notice it has holes in it. It's kind of cool, right? It's an 18-inch. Now this one here sounds a lot darker, a little bit more trashy. A lot of drummers like that. Has a very quick in and out. So what I mean by that is you crash it and it goes away pretty quick, right? So instead of, you know, a big sound here, see, it goes away pretty quick. So it's a nice lower sound. Now, why do you want a cymbal that sounds like a trash can lid? Well, what it is that sometimes the lower kind of trashier sound gives a really good special effect in a song. If you listen to some drum covers of songs, a lot of drum covers will use a China ride, or China crash, which will accompany the same thing. So I just like this one because it looks a lot cool. It looks really cool. You know, when you do cymbal rolls on these things with a mallet, you know, so much faster that goes up. Same hit, but a lot faster. Washes out a lot faster, you know, so definitely really nice. We play songs like My Immortal. It makes a nice, you're doing rolls on the cymbal, which is that sound, you know, that you hear in orchestras. That would make a neat little special effect, kind of an off note, if you will. You know, sometimes people like to play off key. This is like an off key cymbal. It works really well in a lot of different songs. I'm starting to experiment it with myself. Now, the last kind of cymbal I want to talk about is the ride cymbal. This is my personal favorite cymbal. I use these cymbals a lot. Hence why I really didn't want to take my rock ride off, because it actually sounds amazing as well. But I wanted to all match, and what better cymbal to get than the 20th anniversary medium thin ride from a custom. So, see, now I'm hitting this cymbal pretty hard. If I did the same thing, see how that washes out? But it doesn't on this. It's a little bit thicker. It's made to actually hit. And when you hit this, it actually gives a little bit more meat. So a lot of drummers, a lot of musicians, drummers, all that will go from this, using this during verses, to using rides during their courses, especially towards the end of the song, to give a little bit more meat, you know, like they're more involved, right? It's kind of like you have more of an army, if you will, towards the end, like Infinity Wars, right? So it makes the song bigger, if you will, makes it seem bigger. Some rides are so solid sounding, it sounds like this, right? Like you can hit it as hard as you want and it would sound like that. And you know, that's your medium rides and stuff. I kind of want a ride to wash out a little bit. I used to want it to not wash out, and my A series rock ride was perfect. I'll make a video showing that. I think I may already have one on there, kind of showing the ride where it you know, gave some meat, but it also you know, gave some meat, like, you know, like that, but didn't wash out at all. Where this one here, you can use as a crash as well. So, honestly, I love it. I'm not saying that I'm not ever going to use it again. I'm going to find a way somehow in this wonderfully small drum studio to incorporate it into my drums. But until then, I'm going to, you know, flip back and forth. So this concludes my video with my drums. Oh, by the way, if you're looking to get into drums, first thing you ought to get is one of these bad boys, a tuning key. It doesn't have to say Pearl or anything, but it's a little square down there, helps tune your drums, right? You really should have one of these keys because let me tell you something. You buy a little pawn shop drum, they're not going to be tuned. They're going to sound like crap. And most likely the heads are going to be all over the place. So you want to make sure that the heads are on even and relatively tight. So, yeah. This concludes my video. Figured, you know, it's helpful. Hopefully everybody likes it. Now, this is a very rare stick. You'll probably never find this stick again. The Vic Firth Titan. I wish they would have not stopped making these, but I think Vic Firth was onto something and they made the perfect stick. And, well, yeah. So, I love this stick. It actually has a wonderful cross-sticking sound, so I'll show you that just because I do have a video out there, but it has a nice cross-sticking sound. As opposed, you know, as opposed to like a standard synthetic drumstick, and I'll show you that. This synthetic drumstick here I paid $15 for back in the day. See how much lower that is? Now, lower isn't always bad, but I like a wood sound of my cross sticking, which you'll find in normal song, you know, slower songs. Let's see. I think these are. I think this is a 5B. Yep, 5B. So kind of what I mean by wooden sound. Here is the exact same size stick as the Vic Firth Titans. Vic Firth is 5B. I'm going to go ahead and replay that. Sorry, I'm using one hand here. So, see that? Right? So watch this. You heard that. Exact same size stick. Pretty much same sound, right? The only synthetic stick that had that. I cried the day they stopped making this because I wanted to buy another pair, and there's only one on eBay. And unfortunately, it's more than I want to spend. Alrighty, well, y'all have a wonderful day. I will have this up on, obviously, this will be up on YouTube and Facebook, of course. Obviously, because you're watching it on YouTube and Facebook. So y'all have a wonderful day.